This is a brief overview of cyclical re-enrolment within auto-enrolment on Infrastructure 365. So cyclical re-enrolment is the process of re-enrolling anybody who's opted out of a pension. The cyclical dates are every 3 years. The first date is set in the system control and then is moved on a 3-yearly basis once the cyclical re-enrolment date is reached. The cyclical re-enrolment date is only applied to anybody who opts out of a pension that they've been enrolled onto. They have a certain timescale that they can choose to do this, and if they opt out or cease, then they have to be re-enrolled on a 3-yearly basis. If somebody was to opt out 2 years into the 3-year cycle, it would then be 1 year before they were re-enrolled onto the pension again. There's a few reasons why you don't have to be enrolled back onto a pension, and the one that I found affects most of our customers is if somebody has opted out in the last 12 months. So if somebody was to opt out 2 weeks before the cyclical date hits, you don't have to re-enroll them onto a pension, take the deductions, get them to opt out and go through all that process again. You can simply move them on. The same goes if somebody's handed their notice in, they don't have to be re-enrolled onto a pension. And there's a few other bits if there's winding up sums or if they've got any primary enhanced or fixed protection from tax charges on pension savings. So there's a few reasons why you don't have to go through the re-enrolment process, but mostly it's down to the dates and how close to the cyclical re-enrolment date that that the employee is on when they opt out. So normally you go into the assessment routine and it will prompt you, the system will watch out for this cyclical re-enrolment date. So if we just go into the assessment, it does wait. So if you go in there, we'll just go and we'll put in a pay reference period here to the 29th of the 6th, 19. So as soon as you hit return on there, it will come up and tell you that cyclical re-enrolment date has been reached. Once all assessment runs for this payroll have been completed, move the current cyclical re-enrolment date on within the payment system control. So it's saying you have to finish this particular one, this particular run, then you need to move everybody back on again. So if we then go and do everything based on standard pay slips, we'll then see what this comes up with here. So it's saying here for Bobby Bobbison, he's an entitled worker because he's got no pay in there, but this is his cyclical reassessment because his date falls within the cyclical enrolment date. So it says here, after update, move employee details to next cyclical re-enrolment date because he did only opt out on the was it the 9th? So it's been quite recent that he's opted out of his pension. So you go through, and what you normally do then is you finish your assessment, you go into update mode and do all of that, and then we go in and we will change the system control settings. So we'll go to the PYS menu for setup. In the system control. And you'll see here, you've got your current cyclical re-enrolment date of the 29th of the 6th, 19. So what you're doing here is you've got option 3 for cyclical date trail. So if you go into there, and then in the 1, we put the 29th of the 6th, 19, and write that away. Then for this one, you then bump it on for 3 years. So you go 29th of the 6th, 22, sorry. So you get your extra 3 years. And that's how easy it is in the system control anyway to move on your cyclical re-enrolment date. So as far as your personnel records are concerned, if we go into Bobby, let's go into number 2 here. Anybody else, you'd just reassess and you would do it as normal. So if you had anybody that came up that opted out at the very beginning, so in 2016 when they were first enrolled onto a pension, they decided then and then that it was not for them and they weren't going to pay into a pension. They then would be assessed again on this period to see whether they should be included in the pension. At that point, you should enroll them onto a pension as if they were a new employee. So you put them on the pension, you take one deduction off them, they get all the details that they need. If they want to opt out, they have to go through the opt-out process again, or they could choose to stay on the pension. But it literally is the move date for your cyclical re-enrollment is only for certain people. Everybody else just has to be treated like a regular employee who's just started, and all the assessment goes through as normal. So we'll pick up Bobby here and go back into number 15. So you see he's got his re-enrollment date of the 29th of the 6th up there. So we'll go into number 12 for pension details. So here you can go into the opt-out date, put the 29th of the 6th 19, and then M for move. So at this point here we do F2 and then we do F2 to right away. So if you noticed, it didn't say anything at all about if you opt out or anything like that. It just says details will be taken to history. You say OK. Eligible date present, re-enrollment date. So if you notice, it's picked up the new cyclical re-enrollment date of 2022. And you hit return and you get your third sequence. So it won't be picked up for another reassessment until 2022. So you didn't have to go through the faff of putting them on the pension, taking the deduction, because he's only just opted out. There's no point in doing that again a couple of months down the line. So that does give you the option just to bump them along without doing that. As I said before, there are specific details and your pension provider should be able to advise you which ones you can use. But there's that, like say if somebody has handed in their notice, you don't need to enroll them at that point. And then there's a few options regarding tax and savings and things like that. If you go back in and check into number 13 for the history, you can see in there the only thing that's got is that there's an M that's moved on. So the correct record keeping is being handled by the system. It says exactly why, and then it will come up and say why they've been bumped from 2019 to 2022. So it's all nicely logged and straightforward from there.